Racing is sick, and it's actually a lot easier to get into than you think. I get tons of messages, and actually even one person came up to me in person at the St. Petersburg GP asking, how do you become a race car driver? So today we're making a video. Cool thing about racing cars is you don't actually need that much to get started. Do you own a car that isn't a truck and that is safe? Chances are it's probably good enough to do a track day in. So the first thing you should do is sign up for an HPDE. HPDE stands for High Performance Driver's Education, which is basically just a fancy way of saying track day. There are tons of organizations that do these types of events. Here's a few of them. Hop on Google, look up tracks near you, see if there's any events happening. And if you're in the Florida region, check out Track Day Experience, because that's my dad's company. At an HPDE, they'll put you in with a coach who will ride in the right seat of your car. They'll teach you basic things like car control in the racing line and make sure you're not a menace. And then once you're deemed that you won't kill anyone, they'll send you out on your own, and then you'll rise through the various skill groups. The great thing about HPDE is that you seriously don't need anything to get started. You don't need a prepped race car, and you don't need any gear. Most of the companies even have rental helmets that you can use if you don't have your own helmet. My dad's company, Track Day Experience, they have a duffel bag of helmets they bring to every event that are free to use. So you don't need anything to get started. Just show up with your car, make sure it's safe, and off you go. And there's really not a set number of HPDEs that you need to do before you go racing, but I always recommend that you just do as many as you can. That way, when you finally do go to get your racing license, you're not a danger to yourself or anyone else. Now that you have a little bit of experience on the track, it's time to spend some money and buy things. Things being gear. Like all things, when buying racing gear, there's a lot of brands, a lot of different quality levels, but the basic stuff you're going to need, no matter what, is a fire suit, a helmet within 10 years of certification, gloves, fire socks, boots, and a balaclava. I shouldn't need to say this, but of all the things that you shouldn't cheap out on, I would say that your safety gear is at the top of the list. You'll look stupid, you'll be uncomfortable and hot, and you'll burst into flames, also hot. So buy good stuff, and I'll drop some links in the description that'll have some brands, some companies that I like to work with. And now we've come to the most expensive, but also arguably most exciting part of getting into racing, which is picking your car. Now there are like limitless options on what race car you can get, but there are some things that you should consider. First thing you want to do is decide which organization you want to run with. The two big ones are NASA and the SCCA. I run with the SCCA. Within these organizations, there are tons of different classes, but you got to really research the class that you're picking, because price, participation, it all varies a ton depending on which class you're in. And the last thing you want to do is spend tens of thousands of dollars on a race car only to find out you're the only one in a class. Typically, spec racing is where you're going to find the most cars, the best talent, and the most fun racing. Spec Miata is one of the biggest spec racing classes, and it's also fairly cheap for the racing it provides. There are other spec classes too, such as Spec Racer Ford, Formula Enterprises, Spec MX-5, Spec E46. If you want to be more individualistic, there are tons of different classes for tons of different types of cars. Both the SCCA and NASA have a multitude of different classes that you can run in. Again, just do some research, find where your car fits or the car that you want to buy fits, and that way you know what you're getting into. Generally speaking, to be competitive in a non-spec class, you're going to really have to start spending the big bucks. The faster and heavier your car is, the more it's going to cost to run it on the track. And running regionally is pretty much the best way to keep things at a lower price. The class I run, Showroom Spec Miata, is a regional version of Spec Miata that's run in the Washington, D.C. region of the SCCA. So if you're in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic region, I can't recommend SSM enough. It's the best racing you can get for the money, hands down. While building your own car might sound like the cheaper option, I can assure you it is not the cheaper option, because I built my car and I spent maybe 2 to 3 times the amount of money to make it a good car that it would have costed me to just buy a car. I always recommend that people buy an already built car. It saves you from having to reread the rulebook 400 times to fit it into the specifications. When you buy someone else's car, they've probably already done that, so you can be more at ease and know that the car matches the specs of the class. There are tons of Facebook groups and websites specifically for selling caged race cars, so I'll link a few in the description. However, I will say, if you do decide to build your own car, you'll learn a ton. Building my SSM, I pretty much figured out everything there is to know about SSMs, but mostly by doing everything wrong for 4 years. Lastly, if you have the money, you could also just rent a car and do arrive and drive. This is a great option for someone who doesn't have really any mechanical knowledge or has no interest in developing mechanical knowledge or the pitfalls of owning and maintaining your own race car. You show up at the track, the car's ready, you race it, you go to your hotel, you chill, hang out with your friends. It's a nice option, it's just, it gets really expensive really quickly. There are lots of different companies that do arrive and drive deals. RP Performance, they help all of us in the SSM world, so again, if you're in the Washington, D.C. region, check them out, rent an SSM, come run with us, it's a great time. And it's, as far as rentals go, not as expensive as you'd think. So, now that you have a car, gear, some experience, what's next? Competition school. Yeah. There are several levels of competition schools at varying price ranges. At the low end, you have your SCCA and NASA competition schools. This is what I did at the SCCA school. At these events, you'll have a coach who will watch your track sessions and they'll tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. You'll take an exam, and then you'll get your novice permit. Both of these organizations have guides on their websites, which I'll link in the description, that'll tell you everything you need to know to do it. On the higher end, you have schools like Skip Barber, where typically you'll use one of their cars and you'll also get more one-on-one intense coaching. Once you do all that, you got a novice permit, congratulations, you're a race car driver.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your side. Yeah, great.
There you have it. That's everything you need to know to become a race car driver. If I missed anything, if you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram at JordyFoo. Follow me while you're there. Like, subscribe, you know the drill. See you later.